This is Fans on the Run, a podcast made by, for, and about Beatlefests. And now, here's your host, Alexanian.
All right, hello. Welcome back to Fans on the Run. By my calculations, the 6th best Beatles podcast. I actually haven't recorded one of these episodes in a while. You wouldn't be able to tell by my upload schedule, but the way I do things is I kind of record in bursts, where, let's say in like a 3-week span, I record like 7 episodes. So I don't really have to worry about uploads for the other 4 weeks out of the 7. So sometimes when you'll hear me, I may sound a little rusty because I haven't recorded in like 2 or 3 weeks. This is one of those occasions, so you're in for a treat today. Our mystery guest, how would you describe yourself?
Passionate lover of all things music related, but especially the Beatles and Paul McCartney. Shocker.
As if you wouldn't be able to tell by the name and the title and the description, our guest today is the co-host of Two Legs, a Paul McCartney solo podcast, Andy Nicholes. Welcome to Fans on the Run.
Good morning, Ethan, and thank you for having me on your show. And may I just say what a great show it is, and you've been a welcome addition to the Beatles podcast community in your short time. Your show and who you've booked and what you've done has been nothing short of amazing, so it's just a pleasure to be here.
You don't have to say the show's good. You've already gotten on.
It's great, but it's so awesome that, you just boom, out of nowhere, and everybody starts messaging me, you see this kid, he's got this. I'm like, whoa.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's a bit of a feather in my cap.
Certainly is.
Well, Two Legs isn't doing too bad itself. You guys just celebrated your 100th episode.
We did. I joined Two Legs just about a year ago now. In October of 2019, Tom got in touch with me after I had kind of launched the beginning of my own podcast, which I had been wanting to do for a while, and I got to a point in my life where I could do one because I wasn't so busy, and I started to do one, and I did one episode called of my show Backwards Traveler. Tom saw it and was like, hey, this was a great show. My partner is leaving. Would you be interested in co-hosting one with me? And I had already been a follower of Two Legs for quite a while, not since the inception, but I knew about it and listened to a few episodes. So it's been a crazy ride. 100 episodes with the guy that before me, David, Tom's cousin, did 70 or so shows, and we've done 30 some odd shows now. So it's gone by very quickly.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It really does, and we're we just did the 100th one, and we're kind of like you. We record in bunches as well, very much similar to yourself, and then we can have them backlogged and we can post them weekly, and that's kind of been our MO the last few months.
When this episode will be posted, it'll probably be mid-October, and it'll probably mean it'll have been about 6 months since I started the show, which is mind-blowing to me, because it feels like I just started.
Right, but then you start planning, and you start scheduling people and trying to make contact with people to plan, and and as one of our leaders always says, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans, so that's it.
Who's that guy? We'll get into that.
Who is that guy?
Yeah. Who are these Beatles?
Hey, Beatle, as the guy says in Help.
Yeah. Hey, Beatle.
The great Roy Kinnear. He was a great actor.
I love that movie. I honestly prefer it to A Hard Day's Night.
I don't blame you. Everybody fawns over A Hard Day's Night because it's like the classic, whatever. But but Help is just as damn as good as I've always felt too.
A Hard Day's Night's a better movie, but I enjoy watching Help more.
Yeah, because it's just so silly.
Yeah, it's, the Beatles all incredibly high, trying to make a James Bond movie.
Yeah, like Pam, Pow, and all that other kind of James Bond 60-ish, cinematography that they tried to use in that film a little bit.
Exactly, and the movie is so well shot, too. Those music sequences are some of the best things that the Beatles have looked on film ever.
Yeah, and again, that could have been an early forerunner of a music video. You take those individual clips out, that's a music video. I Need You,
for
or
sure.
Another Girl. Those are music videos on their own,
the clips for the night before, where it's like the camera's kind of strapped to the neck of Paul's bass.
Fantastic.
If it was shot like 50 years later, you'd say, oh, that's a GoPro.
Exactly.
But it was 1965.
Exactly. So pretty revolutionary for its time there, Mr. Lester.
Yeah. So anyways, let's jump right back to the beginning. How did you first discover the Beatles?
All right, so I don't know what you'd call me in terms of generation of fans.
See, the thing is I don't really care because I have no idea what generation I am.
Good.
Yeah, so we can forego labels.
I don't know. Everybody likes to put a label on everybody. I'm 39 years old, so I was born just after John Lennon was killed. So my kind of introduction to the Beatles was through him actually as a solo artist, believe it or not.
Really?
I remember seeing videos on TV for like Woman and things like that and liking it. And then, of course, I would just go through my dad's album collection, who's a first-generation Beatle fan. And I actually I was introduced to Lennon as a solo artist first. I remember I found like Shaved Fish and a few albums like that. And I actually was a Lennon fan first, and then going through more stuff, I actually saw the same guy on all these other albums with these other three guys, and I said, gee, that looks a lot like this guy.
You were a Lennon guy first.
I was a Lennon guy first. I was. And
wow, how the times change.
Yeah, I listen, I love them equally. Everybody always asks me, you're into Paul McCartney, you do a Paul McCartney podcast, and listen, I'm still, I think at my core, spiritually, very much a Lennon person, but yeah. It just becomes a question of, unfortunately, there's only so much to go off of with John's discography, and Paul's is 50 years and still counting of all kinds of different stuff. So
you're limited to those 10 or so albums.
You're limited to it. So, and it's much more of a sentimental thing for me with his music. Obviously, I'm from the New York area, so I have ties to the proximity and all that stuff. So it's much more of a sentimental thing with Lennon.
You said in a message to me that your dad actually had an encounter with John.
He did. My dad was walking down the street in Greenwich Village one day, and I think 1972 or maybe 70. I'm pretty sure it was 73, and he just walked by him and he said, "Hey, John, how you doing? Thanks for the music." And John just waved at him, and my dad kept walking. It was I sit here and I'm like, you mean you didn't ask him questions? And he was like, no. He goes, I respected his privacy. I just said hi, and he waved, and I kept going.
You didn't ask if Paul actually died in 1966?
Yeah, he didn't go geeky. He didn't do what I probably would have done, but that's my dad for you, just playing it cool, and that's an amazing story. But that's why I kind of told you. I think I was kind of just preordained to be into this Beatles world somehow.
So you're going through these records, you see this one guy over and over again, but then you start seeing these other three guys.
Yeah.
What was the first specific Beatles record that you remember?
The first Beatles record I remember playing and really digging was probably going to be Sgt. Pepper, for sure. Because it was just so, to a young child, it was so colorful, Not that
exactly.
It just was eye-catching to a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old kid. So let me give this one a whirl. Just for its eye-catchingness and its color, that's what gravitated to it. So, the Sgt. Pepper Mystery Tour were kind of like my first exposure to the Beatles records, and then diving through. Because
Mystery Tour, you had, I don't know if your copy had this, the book, which I think would have been enticing to like a 5 or 6-year-old.
Yeah, it did. I did, going through it and seeing like this huge like plate of spaghetti. I'm like, what am I looking at here? It's like. So, but it didn't matter because the music was great and colorful, and I wore it like a badge of honor as a young kid from the early days. I remember bringing albums to school and talking about it and of course it didn't resonate with anybody in my school, but I didn't care.
Well, what year would this have been when you were bringing it in
late
school?
Late 80s. So
it's. It's not the Pet Shop Boys.
No, it's like everybody was into, at that time, New Kids on the Block, and,
yes.
It was all that kind of, all the late 80s rage, Milli Vanilli, before they found out that they were lip syncing.
Oh, yeah. Girl, you know it's girl, you know it's girl.
Isn't that great? That's a great story. The guy jumps off stage.
I love watching that clip.
Oh, my God. It's pathetic.
It is.
It really is. You're doing it, and the guy just runs off stage just because the CD was skipping.
And then one of the guys just stays there and tries to go along with it.
I know.
And lip syncing to the skipping CD.
Oh, I know. You know what? That was good though. That was even though like they were fakers, but that was some good music. It really was. Whoever did it.
At least they gave back the Grammys.
They did. Yeah, sad story with those guys though, but
yeah,
you know, but good, but that was the world that I was kind of in the late '80s and into the '90s in high school. You know, I was aware of the current trends, but didn't really care about it because I was just soaking up everything that I could Beatles. You know, so in the mid '90s when the anthologies launched, I'm in high school by that point, and it's the rage is like grunge, Smashing Pumpkins, Nirvana. Stuff like that, and the hip hop, Pearl Jam, and then of course East Coast, West Coast rap. Some of which I like the Biggie Smalls stuff. I liked it.
You just mentioned something. Did you ever watch the show Mr. Show?
I have not.
Okay, never mind.
I have not. But so you know it was a very fruitful period to be kind of still getting the CD. I was at that time. I was still kind of getting all the original CDs, those '87 all those first one. And I had, and then the anthology comes, and you know that was pretty. That was like the defining moment. Like there was no going back as a fan for me at that point. I was vested, and you know, just
that would have been I wasn't alive, but that would have been a great time to be a Beatles fan. I assume
it was
when all those things like the Live at the BBC. The anthology stuff.
It was, and having and again bouncing these ideas off my father, he was like, you see this excitement that's going on right now, Andy? He's like, this is how it was for every time a Beatles new single or album came out in all those years. So magnify that excitement, for that one time when the anthologies, and then multiply it by 13 albums and 27 singles. I mean, can you imagine? I can't. It was crazy.
Now, you have one of the coolest claims out of anyone who's appeared on the show. You actually have a degree.
I do.
Relating to the Beatles.
I do.
Please elaborate.
So I earned a master's degree in popular music studies, which is kind of the umbrella under it, but it's formally known as a Master of Arts in the Beatles, Popular Music, and Society, which I earned from Liverpool Hope University in January of 2012. I had lived there for about a year and a half.
Liverpool,
England, where it all started, yes.
Where it all started.
Yeah. And it was, I had recently graduated with my bachelor's degree and hadn't really figured out where I was going to go, job. Wasn't teaching yet, and my mother actually saw an advert for this program, and she goes, "Hello, this would be right up your alley." So I applied, wrote an essay, submitted something. I had the background. I was like, I'm not going to get into this, and lo and behold, I was accepted. And I think I was like maybe there was 4 or 5 Americans in that cohort with us out of the, I don't know how many thousands of applicants. So it was pretty prestigious to be chosen to go.
What was it like? Because I've talked to a lot of people. I've been there visiting Liverpool. What was it like moving to Liverpool?
That was, you're on your own. You pack your bags and you get on a plane, and I flew to Heathrow, and then from Heathrow I took the train to Lime Street, and it was. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty scary. You're a foreign country. You don't know a soul. You've communicated with the professor, and I emailed a couple of classmates who I was going to be meeting up with. But those first few days, I remember thinking like, can I do this? I'm in a foreign land. But I tell you what, after a couple of days, I met my classmates, and I met friends down at the Cavern, and it was like, it clicked instantly. I mean, and that's almost 10 years ago now. In fact, September of 2010 is when I moved, and I was in the program till January of 2012. So it's 10 years ago this month that happened.
What was your favorite thing about living in Liverpool?
Oh, just learning so much about. I mean, forget about the music aspect, which is full of rich music history, aside from the Beatles.
Yeah.
Pre-Beatles, 70s, 80s bands. Just getting to connect with the people locally who live there. That was the single greatest thing, other than the schooling, which was tremendous, and I had a great professor with Dr. Michael Brocken. and the lectures that
Shout
we had.
out to Dr. Michael Brocken.
He's a great guy. He's written a lot of good books on Liverpool's history but meeting and interviewing like the people who live there, and eventually kind of getting adopted as like a regular at places like the Cavern. That was to me the single most greatest hand experience of the whole thing. And I mean, I'm still in touch with these people to this day because of that. So that alone, I mean, the music is great, and obviously all the Beatles stuff is great, but learning about Liverpool and the background and all the different parts of Liverpool, like you hear Liverpool, and you've been there, so you know.
Yeah.
You think Liverpool, okay, it's like the docks and that's it. Liverpool is so big and has so many different parts to it, and that was the eye-opening experience too. I had lived initially in the Aigburth section of Liverpool, which is not too far from Toxteth, which is like kind of a not as well-to-do area. And then later on in my time there, I had moved into the city center, right down by the docks and the Mersey and all that, right in the heart of town. But that was learning about the geography of Liverpool, and I actually walked. I think my first week there, when I didn't know anybody, I just got out of my dorm, and I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna go on a Beatles tour. I'm just gonna go do it myself, and I just printed out maps, and I'm like, okay, where's John's house? Where's Paul? And I just did my own self-guided Beatles tour. I did that myself, and that was an eye-opening experience, but one that has forever changed me for the better. So,
how long would you say you walked that day?
Oh, I think like 8 miles. I got back that night and I was exhausted. I left like at noon and I got back like at 8 o'clock and I was dead. I'm like, I'm just going to go for a little walk around Liverpool, and I was freaking exhausted. I didn't get out of bed for like a day and a half. I was exhausted. I'm like, all right, next time I'm going to hop on the tube and do that instead, or grab a bus.
Yeah.
They actually, I got to give this a little cool thing. Uber now is like all the rage now, but this was like years before Uber. But over there, they actually had like you could call and schedule like an Uber driver to come and get you and take you wherever you want. Like they have the big yellow taxis, right? But
yeah,
so this was like they had Uber before Uber existed over there, which was like back then was like you could just call some random person and they'll come and pick you up and take you wherever you got to go. It was crazy.
Really?
Yes, yeah, and they call it private hire cabs, and then there's obviously licensed ones, and the city would poo-poo anybody using the ones that are not licensed, but they were cheaper, and you could call them day or night and say, okay, I'm standing on Matthew Street and I need to go to Sefton Park. Okay, we'll be there in 5 minutes. That was it. It was crazy.
Damn, Liverpool pioneers.
They really are, and that the fact that it's such a melting pot too. I didn't know that. Like there's a section of town that's Chinatown. You've got all kinds of. It's a melting pot of all the world's kind of nationalities. Great restaurants, great food. It's not just very Liverpool, and it's just pubs. I mean, there's plenty of pubs, and I was in a lot of them, but it's more than that. So it's anybody who hasn't been, and I have lots of Beatle fans. Friends of mine who have not been, I'm like, you need to go there. And I'm glad that you got to go there. When did you go?
I went back in 2013. Although my biggest regret is not really venturing outside of that whole Matthew Street block.
Yeah, but because you could spend days down there just on Matthew Street. I mean, you've got
the hotel I stayed was right there.
Oh, did you stay at the Hard Day's Night?
Of course I did.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
And
and that's all
Where
owned.
else?
Well, of course, and that's all owned by Cavern City Tours, which owns they own the hotel, they own the Cavern Club and the neighboring pub across the street, the Cavern Pub.
I spent more time in the Cavern Pub than I did the Cavern Club.
You and me both, buddy. That was the place. As I learned, the pub on the left was that's where the regulars and locals would go.
Yeah.
That's the place was my home. After lectures, we had class every night from about 6 to 8, 2 or 3 nights a week. And then we would go down there, and that's where I met my friends and learned that, like, the touristy part of the Cavern was across the way, down there.
Well,
and
they're both the touristy bit because neither of them are originally where the Cavern was.
No, it wasn't. It was further down the road, as you know.
Yeah, it's long gone.
Long gone, but they say that they use some of the bricks to do the new one. But Cavern City Tours and Bill Heckle, they do a tremendous job of running that place. I'm very happy to see that they reopened now in post-COVID.
as well.
That's a tremendous thing because I know that they were really hemorrhaging money away there for a while. So
they were at risk of, permanently closing.
Which I have to think, I would think somewhere down and somebody would reach out to Macca and say, come on, you're really going to let the cavern close? I would have to think he wouldn't let that happen,
I would hope not.
But as for the course itself, it was the program, the master's degree, was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I went over there a newly minted college grad, thinking, okay, I've got this, and I wrote my first paper, and my professor was like, this wasn't great, you can't submit this, you've got to turn it in. So that was an eye-opener. The standards of which they grade on for writing and everything, that raised the game to a whole new level. So I became a better writer because of that, a better researcher because of that. And people think, oh, well, what do you have, a master's in the Beatles? What is that? It's not a master's in just the Beatles. We didn't sit around there going, and on July 3rd, 1963, they wrote "She Loves You." That's not what the program was. The program was a study and an approach to why popular music should be an accepted form of discipline, worldwide. You've got programs of study on classical music at all the colleges. Why can't popular music studies be accepted? And it was a study and an in-depth look at audiences, geography, politics, all those things, social issues, economics. It was not who wrote Hey Jude. It was not that at all. And I think some people, and I kind of thought it'd be a little more heavy on the Beatles end, but it wasn't. But I was okay with that, and I came out of that experience with such an appreciation for the Liverpool history that really is not the one that's talked about all that much. In these thousands of Beatle books that are out there, there's so much written about what they became in '63 or especially in North America. Mm-hmm. But the Liverpool history, the Liverpool history and the places they played and the thing, that is my favorite era now. That's because it's rarely talked about, and only really Mark Lewison has done that period justice with his first volume of Tune In, with the deluxe edition.
Have you read any of David Bedford's books?
I have, and we met David. David lectured us. David visited us one time, and his book is too. His work is very good too. I think David's work is catered more for the masses, just to kind of get it they kind of dip their toe into Liverpool history. But it's still, I enjoy David's work. I think it's a good book.
Yeah, because he when I talked to him, he was talking about, the musical history of Liverpool, because it's not just the Beatles, because it was a port town. They got not just the American, R&B records, they got, country and stuff.
Yes, they got country. Even the Liverpool black music scene was tremendous. We met a guy who visited us one night for a lecture, guy by the name of Joe Ankrah, Ankrah, and he was in a group called The Chants, Chants, and they were managed by Brian Epstein. And they, this is a guy that came to us telling us stories about, sitting and hanging out, working with John, Paul, George, and Pete at that point, because Pete was still in the band. And, their career didn't really go anywhere much outside of Merseyside. But, I mean, the stories that we heard from them, and it's on YouTube. If you search up The Chants, they have their biggest hit, I think, was a song called If I Could Write a Book. And that stories like that is what made this program, this experience, the truly remarkable one that it is. That still is with me this day. So, again, it's to your point and to David Bedford's point. It's much more than just the Beatles. You've got the country scene, which was huge in Liverpool. And these are all the influences. That's why kind of that melting pot mentality fits it very well. And I think most fans, Beatle fans, would be well served if they had done a little bit more reading on Liverpool itself. It's bad, the class struggle between the North and the South in terms of London, and how most of the country viewed Liverpool just as a kind of poor town. And all these things are kind of what we talked about in the course. It was not, who wrote I Want to Hold Your Hand. So it's kind of what I always tell people, but it's usually over their heads.
Just for the record, who did write I Want to Hold Your Hand?
That, I think, is just a true 50-50 song between Lennon and McCartney, if I have my facts right. Although, of course, Bob Dylan always thought the line was, I get high, and not, I can't hide. Yeah.
Oh, that just sounds like projection.
Yes. Yes, it does.
I want to ask you, while we're talking about these personal connections, do you have any favorite memories involving the Beatles music or the music of the Beatles? Or that was a really weird roundabout sentence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do I have any favorite like musical moments where I associate with?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or memories involving like being a fan of the Beatles, like conventions or meeting people.
Yeah. I've met. Well, of course, like music for me is associated for most people. Obviously, you hear a song, you're taken back to a time in your life that you remember. What you were doing, what was going on. Like when I hear "Free as a Bird," I think about being in high school and all that excitement about the anthologies. When I listen to Red Rose Speedway, I think about where I was the first time I got that album and actually connecting with it. So, in terms of meeting people, I've gone to the Beatlefests, and I'm still calling it the Beatlefest. I'm not calling it that whole Fest for Beatles fan official thing. I'm sorry, it's Beatlefest. It's always going to be Beatlefest. Yeah. I'm sorry, that's what it is. Sorry, Yoko. But that's
what does she have to do with it?
She's the one I think that asked for the name to be changed. I think. I have somebody might know about that. Maybe you can ask Lapidus the next time you get him on.
Yeah.
But I'm in the New York area, so I would go to the ones in New York, New Jersey a lot. Not every year, but back in the day, they were great to go to. I met Denny Lane at one, and I met Denny Sywell at one. They both signed my copy of Wildlife, and that was a great meeting those guys over the years. The last one I went to was in 2018, and they've gotten the guests are still very good, but the event is it's like back in the day, and you went to the Chicago one, so you'll know this. But back in the day, and especially pre-internet, the merchandise, the marketplace area was like filled with hundreds of vendors from all over the world selling all kinds of stuff. Yes, you could find bootlegs there if you knew who to talk to.
Yeah.
But when I went in 2018, it was reduced, and again, I didn't go every year because it does get a little repetitive for me. If he gets a really good guest, I'll go. But it's been dwindled down to like a few rooms, and like there's like the marketplace was like 5 tables. It was I was amazed, but in the advent of online and everything else, there's no need to have all those people there. So it being fandom, especially with the Beatles.
To be fair, I don't really have a point of reference for what it was before, so I was still my jaw dropped at seeing this entire ballroom full of vendors, even though there was only 15 or 20.
But that's still more than I guess Chicago had much more than New Jersey. Then 15 or 20 is pretty cool, but it's still, when you walk in there and you're like, oh my God, there's all this stuff here. It's you know the feeling.
Just with Beatles stuff. And there were like 15 butcher covers in that room.
Oh God! Then there's I think the guy goes to every one of them, and he's a vendor from New Jersey. I think his name is Gary Hine. And he's got a tremendous collection of albums, but like you would need to like get a mortgage to buy one of them. And like he's got all the butcher covers; they're all like ridiculous, like thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm like, oh, I walk by and I'm like, that's nice.
Yeah. But at least it works kind of as a museum where you can see all this stuff.
It does.
Wow, an original German export pressing of Please Please Me. Oh wow, I'm not going to buy that.
Yeah, it looks nice, but I can't touch it.
Yeah,
I can't even go near. I can look at it, but that's about it. You can do window shopping,
Look at that. How much does it cost? $700. Next booth.
Oh, okay. You have a 45 for like $3. Okay, I can. That's in my market, but we can do that. That's in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But
$3.
Yeah. You can. Yeah, there's deals to be had.
You can still find deals.
You can. I mean, I still see copies of Instant Karma for like less than $5, even with a picture sleeve. I'm always amazed at that. But
when I was there, I got an original UK mono Pepper for like $15 on the last day.
That's pretty good.
Because they were doing, their sales. And I even got it from the Rockaway Records booth.
You got it from Rockaway Records? Well, that's the game you got to play, too. When you go there on a Friday night, See, it's a catch-22. If you want to be the first one there to go through the stuff before anybody kind of gets at it, you're going to pay the biggest price, right? But by Sunday,
I kind of had the best of both worlds there, because I went right when it opened. I got first pick. I ended up paying, a little bit more, but it was still like 50 American dollars for like an original UK White Album.
Wow.
Numbered top loader.
A top loader. That's a gem right there for sure.
A little rough, but not too rough. Like I would have paid, 150 for it.
Yeah, but how much did you get it for?
50 or so.
It's probably not in the best shape, but hey, you got it. Have you seen that Instagram page, the guy that we buy white albums? He just buys white albums.
I have been following him for years.
that account is great.
Yeah. Although it really frustrates me sometimes, because sometimes pops up in my feed and it's like a really clean white album, and it's just, okay, it's one of the thousands he owns. It's like, I could buy that. I want that.
I always like looking at the ones where people draw and do different things on them. Those are the ones that crack me up the most, when you see people doing artwork on them.
Hear the one that he took needle drops of like 100 copies that are all like beat to shit.
Yes.
And overlaid them on top of each other, including all the covers, and had like a couple, like I think 1,000 pressed.
Yeah. I heard some of those. That was wild. That was wild.
And it's just one of them skips slightly or runs a little fast.
Yeah.
And it just, towards the end, it just is a nightmare.
Yeah, but it's still just so impressive of an undertaking for sure. I mean, I don't know, my last white album count I think was at like 10 or 11 copies. I don't know. I don't
That's
keep
about
track.
The same here.
I don't keep track anymore.
It's best that way.
They're in order. They're there. I log them into Discogs, and that's with Discogs you can kind of just do it that way, which is great. I don't know if you do the same thing.
I am a fan of Discogs.
I've been trying to get my co-host to buy into that, but he's not into, like, he doesn't understand it yet. I've told him, like, Tom, you got to start buying stuff on Discogs. Plus, you can do it. You can kind of just get your library built on there.
Tom doesn't buy off Discogs?
No.
Where the hell is he buying all these records from?
eBay.
Really? Just eBay?
Just eBay. And I'm like, bro, Discogs.
I haven't bought off of eBay in a long time.
I don't think anybody has except for Tom. So he's keeping the eBay ship afloat.
He's propping up the eBay economy.
He just bought. We were talking last night.
Oh Jesus! What did he buy?
He bought like two random CDs. We were just talking about him. He's like, oh, you know what? And I don't want to tip my hand because it's a future guest on Two Legs, but we were talking about this person. He's like, oh, I'm going to buy 2 of the CDs right now. I'm like, where? He's like, eBay. And I'm like, dude, go to Discogs.
It's probably going to be cheaper on Discogs.
I told him that.
The only thing I don't like about Discogs, which there's, you can work around it, but I don't like not seeing pictures of the actual items you're buying. You can see the pressing stuff, pictures of like a clean copy, but
you're not getting the actual item. That isn't fair. That's a very fair point. But
usually I email the sellers like, could you send me some photos? And they're like, sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't say I've had one bad Discogs experience. I don't know how about you?
I have once.
Okay, well, listen, they're not all perfect out there.
Yeah. But here's what happened. For my birthday a couple years ago, I didn't have any of the anthologies on vinyl, and I am, a completist, and I figured, if I don't get all of these anthologies at once, it's gonna drive me crazy. So for my birthday, I just bit the bullet and bought sealed British copies of all 3.
Now, Volume 1 was always the harder one to get. How much was that one?
Volume 1 was the easiest one to find.
Really?
I got it for, I think, it was like $35 US.
That's pretty good.
For a sealed
copy from the UK. Because they were the 2 and 3 were pressed in America. And Bruce, if you're listening, correct me. But
I can correct you there, actually.
One was only manufactured in the UK, and 2 and 3 had both.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did not buy the US copies of 2 and 3.
You bought the British ones. Good on you. Good on you for that.
In Canada, that's kind of the case. If we had the option of either importing from Britain or the US, we usually imported from Britain.
Right. You would do that anyway.
Yeah, because like a couple of the sealed British records I have big stickers on like the front or front or back saying like imported by EMI Music Canada.
Right. And did you collect obviously all the Canadian pressings too? I'm sure you have them all,
Of
right?
course.
Yeah, that was another one of my classmates who was there before me. I think was from Canada, and she actually wrote a book on the Beatles in Canada. Her name is escaping me, but I have to look it up and send it to you. But the Canadian pressings, I love the Canadian. I love the artwork on them, how they're different, just a little bit. I love the Canadian pressings.
There's only a couple I don't have, which is because I'm always a stickler for condition, and it's that album Very Together. I don't own a copy of, because every time I see it, it's always at like an antique market or something for like $50, and it's like got the worst ring wear you would ever see ever.
Yeah,
and it's like I'm not paying that, and I don't have 2 of the Canadian singles.
Have you ever seen the Vegas show Love?
I have not.
I got to see that in 2009, and that was, again, talking about just Beatle experiences from my. That was a great one too. I went out there with my to visit my cousin and 2 friends, and of course they didn't want to go, so I took the $150 and said I'll go alone, and I did, and that was a great show. That was a tremendous experience.
I've seen pictures of the gift shop, which.
Oh, I talk about like gift shops and being wowed, like the marketplace at Beatlefest. Like that's like, I'll send you a couple. I have a few of myself in the gift shop. I'll send you them. It's like, whoa! It's like ridiculous, but that's a great show.
Because they've had this bass there. I think it might even just be on display, like a Hofner bass signed by all 4 Beatles.
Yep, I'm going to send you that. I have a picture of myself next to that display case. Wow. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
We're talking about records. I'm going to ask, what's your holy grail in your collection that took you so long to find, but now it's rightfully sitting on your shelf?
The holy grail. Gee, I have to think about that.
Or one that you're like still looking for. It could be one of those too.
Okay, one that I'm still looking for obviously would be a Butcher.
Yeah.
Aren't we all? So that's like on that never-ending list. We're never going to get that.
Never say never.
I have a couple, and I got them in a collection from, I can't even remember how long. I bought a box of records from somebody at some store years ago, and in there were 3 sealed copies of Beatles 6, Revolver, and the White Album, all first pressings, and they're and they're still sealed. So those are like
White Album. Was it numbered?
It's numbered, yes,
and it's sealed.
It is.
Oh damn.
Yeah, those.
Oh damn.
Yeah, it's in like 3 layers of plastic. I hardly even look at it because I don't even want to touch it. But yeah, those are my 3 favorites, like crown jewels for sure.
There's one in my collection that it's kind of my crown jewel.
What do you got?
I bought it by accident because I was just looking for an original UK Abbey Road, and I was in Toronto on my birthday, and I saw a UK Abbey Road in a shop, and it said original Parlophone pressing, and I thought, just a dumb record shop owner, it's like, it's not Parlophone, it's Apple.
Right.
And on the back cover it said Apple, so I'm like, $100, a little pricey, but okay, fine, I'll buy it, just because I'm lazy and I don't want to have to order it online. And then I didn't even look at the record. I bought it, went to the car, and then I took the record out, and it actually was on Parlophone.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, so it's one of these.
And you can always tell when it's an original because it's heavier, right?
Yeah, but it's a second UK export pressing on Parlophone.
Of that, right.
With the 1-box Parlophone EMI label.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, what a score.
Yeah, for $100.
For $100, that's a steal.
I know. Because I think the guy just thought it was an original, generic UK and wanted to charge a sucker for it. And so he sold it to a sucker, but it ended up being, It ended up being legit.
He was the sucker. He's the sucker. Sorry, pal.
Yeah. His shop has gone out of business now.
Yeah, so how long have you been collecting records and all this
about
stuff?
10 years. About 10.
Good for you. So you, in 10 years, you've amassed quite a collection that probably would rival people that have been doing it for, their lifetime. So that's pretty impressive.
It's very heavily curated.
Yes.
It's heavily curated. I don't, I'm just maxing out my IKEA 2x8 Calyx shelf.
The Calyx shelves, yes, as we all have those.
If I had been less, explicit about what I want, I'd probably have like a 4x4 or a 5x5 by now. But, I guess I inherited it from my dad. I have expensive taste.
Hey, listen, you need a place to house. I always say we all need places to house our madness, right?
Yeah. And it really dawned on me how vinyl collecting has destroyed my perception of money. It was a couple weeks ago. I was at an antique market, and it's a really good antique market, and they had a British copy of the second Yardbirds album for $75, and I bought it without even thinking.
You didn't even flinch.
No, it wasn't even like, oh my god, what is this? It was just like, I'll get that.
Okay, I'll get that. You didn't even. Yeah. You sometimes when you're like, you're okay. This is something we don't see that often. It could have been $100. You would have bought it. You would have spent $100 on it too.
Exactly. I mean, and I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't love the album, which I do, because I'd been looking for it. But the fact that I was so unfazed by it.
That's when you know that your vinyl collecting addiction has reached new heights.
Oh yeah. I would have thought at the start of this pandemic that it would have gone down because I can't go to as many record stores. No, I just get creative.
And okay, now you're just gonna buy twice as much online because you can't go out.
Well, I got in constant contact with a vendor who does a lot of the record shows in Ontario. Like, I always see him there, but he does stuff on the side too. And so I got in touch with him, and he started a website. And so, every 2 or 3 weeks I'd drive down to Toronto, drop couple $100
and say, okay,
yeah,
okay.
I got second UK pressing of In the Court of the Crimson King.
Oh, tremendous.
British Days of Future Past by the Moody Blues.
Oh, awesome stuff. They're great. That's a great band to go see live if you had a chance. They were tremendous. I saw them do that whole album on the anniversary tour a couple summers ago. That was great.
Yeah. What's your favorite non-Beatles related album?
So outside of the Beatles world, what would be my favorite album?
Yes.
Oh God, that's a tough one. So I have 3 favorites. So there's Beatles and solo to me go as there. That's one.
Save those answers for later because I will touch back on those.
Okay, but outside of the Beatles, my favorite singular album. Oh boy, gun to my head, I'm probably gonna say. Oh, God. See, today it's this, tomorrow it'll be something else. I'll say Quadrophenia by The Who.
Quadrophenia?
Yeah, I'll say Quadrophenia. But, because the outside... After the Beatles, it's a side note, I played the Beatles so much in the 90s. My uncle and father and everybody was like, they were like, okay, we get it. You like the Beatles. There's tons of other music out there. Here, try this one instead. And my uncle threw Quadrophenia at me. And that was an eye-opener.
Did he actually throw it at you?
He didn't throw it at me. He was walking out and he was like, enough, put this on. And he walked out. So that was...
assaulted by your uncle with a copy of Quadrophenia.
Yes, he was like, typical, New York guy, Andy, you've had enough of hearing this Beatles stuff. Put this album on. You'll like this too. And, and that opened up the door to... everything else for me in terms of what I like outside of the Beatles. So Quadrophenia, I would say, definitely is an album.
I was going to say, one of my favorite non-Beatles albums, it's also a Who album, but it's earlier Who. It's the Who Sell Out.
Oh, that's a very nice pick because it's so, it's kind of off the beaten path one, but it's so kind of crazy and kooky, filled with all those radio jingles and the pop art stuff.
What's the tea, doctor?
Oh, Just John Entwistle there on that one, guys.
Yeah.
That's a great. Again, that's a fantastic pick too. And did you see that girl who actually did a cover of the whole album?
I did see that.
Petra Hayden, I think her name is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Townsend said it was like winning a Grammy when he found out she did that. Yeah, so that was outside of the Beatles. I'd say Quadrophenia, although I could change, but we'll save that question for later.
Mm-hmm. So now let's make later now. What is your favorite Beatles album?
Favorite Beatles album, again, could change on the day, but I always say by default I'll just say the White Album, and that might be a bland pick. But for me, it's the easiest one because it's the one that has everything but the kitchen sink thrown into it in terms of genre, right?
See, that the thing you're describing that makes it your favorite is how exactly I'd describe it when saying it's not my favorite, because it's like they just threw everything at it,
and it wasn't one concise
thing. That's the thing about the Beatles music.
Sure.
What doesn't appeal to me is the same thing that appeals to you.
Yeah, no, that would and just for the sheer amount of stuff that's on it, I've always said the White Album. It could change, but the White Album for me, start to finish, and especially the 2018 deluxe edition has just been that has just opened up so many new doors. Giles did such a great job on that.
The remix isn't as jarring.
No,
as the Pepper mix.
No,
I love the Pepper mix, but the White Album wasn't as big of a jump.
It wasn't, but the bonus stuff, the bonus tracks on that, like all the outtakes, like that long version of like Revolution where they start going into Love Me Do at the end. That was like that was like, okay, this box is fucking great.
Finally having proper versions of the Esher demos.
Yeah, Esher demos now, all housed in one thing. So yeah,
Esher,
White Album.
Esher, I don't know.
I say Esher as well. Yeah. I think my fellow friends in the UK say Esher as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one was probably by far still remains my number one favorite. I remember I brought it in as a show and tell thing in like second grade. We had show and tell, and I brought in the White Album. See,
with all the pictures and poster.
Exactly. And I think even back then it was the 80s, so it was like my first White Album, so it was like the Capitol Rainbow late 80s pressing one, which is scratched to hell now, but that was like new then.
But it's funny now talking as record collectors, because we both I'm speaking for me, but we both probably put up those posters, hung those pictures.
Yeah, fact. We definitely framed for we put them up. I mean,
cut out the Sgt. Pepper mustache.
That I never did. Did you cut it out?
I did, and then I regretted it, so I bought another copy of Sgt. Pepper.
I never touched the inserts on Pepper. I just left it alone. I didn't want to mess with it.
There's one that before I really understood why duplicates matter. I had 2 copies of Sgt. Pepper. I'm like, well, now that I have 2, I can turn the other one to an arts and crafts project. And so I wanted to make like a faux gold record. So I spray painted the actual record gold.
Did it look good?
No.
Oh, God.
Because I was like 10.
Oh, my God. You spray painted it gold.
Yeah.
I was always amazed with the... I'm sure your copy has that mono that you got was the with the original inner sleeve.
Did it come
with
that
too?
The inner sleeve. Well, $15. I'm still happy with what I got.
Well, that's true too. Do you prefer true mono or do you like stereo?
Depends on the album.
No, for Pepper I'm talking.
Oh, for Pepper, out of the original 2, I prefer the original mono. But I prefer the 2017 remix to either one. That's your go-to now, right? That's my go-to now. Yeah, this mashup mix of mono and stereo to be a new thing. My gold standard is Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds for listening to the mixes. Yeah. And Lucy sounds fantastic in the 2017 mix. It does. I think I'm in agreement with you on that. The 2017 is still the go-to now for me. But I just don't like... on that or on the original mono, She's Leaving Home, I just think is better in a stereo version. It's slower. Yeah. And
I like the slower
Well, that's
version.
like Don't Pass Me By on the White Album. The mono one is sped up slightly.
Yes. Yeah, but those little nuances and stuff like that are.
But that's also irrelevant to me because I do something that I will probably get flack from all audiophiles. With my turntable, I kind of crank the speed up slightly.
You change the pitch.
I change the pitch so it's, let's say about half a semitone higher, because I feel like it just makes me slightly happier to listen to. I can't put my finger on why.
Interesting. I do the same thing, but lower. I lower it about half a semitone.
Yeah.
Slow. Yeah. So you go higher and I go lower. That's cool.
It for some reason it makes everything just sound happier.
Interesting. So if it's faster, it's a little happier. Hey.
Yes.
So that's cool. I always felt that at a regular speed, some songs are just a little too fast, so I just throttle it back just a little, ever so slightly, and then that's my happy place.
So, White Album's your favorite.
Yes.
Today, what is your least favorite Beatles album?
I'm not going to say there isn't one because that's such a lame answer because we all know that some albums are better than others. Least favorite Beatles album?
Not all albums are created equal.
Least favorite Beatles album, I will say, is probably Beatles For Sale.
Shocker.
I know. Beatles For Sale.
That I've kind of learned to just expect that response from
you
people.
You should, because I'm not going to say, because everything else is tremendous. I mean, listen, they were tired as hell. Half the album is covers. I mean, they were battered to hell with touring. They kind of just threw that album late at the end of '64 and just threw it out there. Now
let's get this out of the way before I go on to favorite song or something. Thoughts on Mr. Moonlight?
Like it.
Thank God.
I like it.
Because I didn't want to have to get into another argument.
And it's actually it's another one of my uncle's favorite songs. Actually, believe it or not.
Yeah,
he loves it.
It's just so cheesy. And
it's so cheesy. It's great.
Learning
yes.
about how it was kind of a running joke between the Beatles and the other bands in Liverpool to see who could play the schlockiest, cheesiest version possible of Mr. Moonlight.
Yeah, although I like the live version from the Star Club too, which is a little bit faster and more. It's not as polished, obviously, as the one on the album.
So, what is your favorite Beatles song?
See, I don't want to give you an obvious, but I might have to.
Obvious is okay.
I don't think you're gonna like it though.
Okay, well, hit me anyways.
Well, let's see. Favorite Beatles song.
If you say "Let It Be," I will be disappointed.
No, if I said "Let It Be," hang up the phone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say. I'm gonna give you two. I'm gonna give you like my safe answer, and I'm gonna give you like the one that I was really truly like my favorite. My safe answer would be like "A Day in the Life." Okay. That's my safe answer. But the one I probably play the most outside of that, I'm gonna say "For No One" from Revolver.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not an obvious choice.
I'm gonna say "For No One." It's a song I've been revisiting a lot, listening to it because I've been on a Broad Street binge. Mm-hmm. So and I love how he plays it in that one.
Do you have a DVD copy of Broad Street
and a VHS?
Okay, because I was on eBay just curious. The DVD copies are expensive.
They are.
I thought there was a Blu-ray.
There's not a Blu-ray yet, but I saw it on Amazon not too long ago. Look again, because I sent it to a friend of mine. It was like $10.
Oh.
It was $10 for a standard DVD, so check it out again.
Well, that's still like $9 too much.
It is, but you know what? I was talking about this with Tom. We were talking about like what do you want to see next? I want a Uber like $600 box for Give My Regards to Broad Street. I want it. I want it today.
Find some way to issue like a suitcase.
Yes.
Tom will buy it.
He will. He'll buy it. I want like the script in there reproduced. I want like a replica of a movie ticket. I want the whole thing.
Yeah. Remastered Ultra 4K.
I want it. I want it. And listen, my rationale is, okay, you've got Paul and Ringo and George Martin on film working together. That warrants it alone. Forget about the movie and the script and that it's awful. The fact that the musical performance is in there and George Martin and Paul are in there with Ringo,
I think that's the best thing anyone could ever say about a movie. Forget about the script or the movie; it's awful.
It is, but the musical performances in it make it worthy. So yes, But for no one is probably my favorite pure, outside of the obvious choices. For no one, it's probably my favorite Beatles song.
Well, that's okay. Well, I want to ask now, what is your least favorite Beatles song?
Least favorite Beatles song? Let me think on this first. Just a split second. Cover or one of the ones that they wrote?
Let's do one of each.
Okay, so I'm going to say probably like A Taste of Honey.
Okay, I do not care much for that song.
A Taste of Honey, and then one that they wrote, I'd probably say, I just, it's like Beatles, the words Beatles and least are not in my vocabulary. That's why I'm struggling with this.
It's not like they're bad.
No,
Beatles bad is everyone else is fairly decent.
True. My least favorite original song by them, I'll say, would be, I'll say You Can't Do That.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll say You Can't Do That.
Explain
I don't know.
yourself.
It's just, I prefer the live versions better, but it's just, I don't know. It goes on a little bit too long, too much cowbell.
Yeah.
Way too much cowbell.
How is there too much cowbell?
There is. There is. And I like cowbell, but not on that song.
Yeah. But it's that riff though.
I know. It's a good riff, but it's what. Yeah, no, it's good.
Sounds better on a 12 string.
Yes, and that was beautifully done, by the way.
No, it wasn't.
It's hard. It's hard to say. I mean, ask me tomorrow. I could change my answer. But yeah, I'm going to say You Can't Do That right now.
Well, and now let's do some kind of quick fire things. What's your favorite John Lennon album?
Mind Games.
What's your favorite Paul McCartney album?
Red Rose Speedway.
What's your favorite George Harrison album?
33 1/3.
And what's your favorite Ringo Starr album?
Stop and Smell the Roses.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Hands down.
Okay.
Because
I might have to ask you to elaborate.
Okay, Stop and Smell the Roses, obviously with its connection to John and how John was going to help him with that album. You had Paul and George kind of rally around him to help him with that album a little bit. They got together and recorded all those years ago during those sessions too. I just like I love Private Property, Rack My Brain. Paul wrote Attention on that album. To me, it's almost like Ringo, the Ringo 73 album, but in an 80s context. So, I think that album is tremendous. I like the cover that he does of, it's escaping me. What's the cover he does on that album? It was an old Beatles live number they used to do. But anyway, that's good on there too. I think he did a recover of Back Off Boogaloo. That also was on a bonus track. So
how many times has he redone that song?
Too many.
Yeah.
Too many. But Stop and Smell the Roses, 10 years ago I would have told you, the obligatory Goodnight Vienna or Ringo, but no, for me it's Stop and Smell the Roses. That's my rapid fire 4.
And I'll actually elaborate. What is your least favorite McCartney album?
Oh, the Ringo song was I don't know. I forget. Oh, Sure to Fall in Love with You. That was the song.
I was going to say I could run and go grab my copy, but that would be a waste of both of our time.
Sure to Fall. Least favorite McCartney album. You're putting me on the spot here, Ethan.
Because everything he did was so great.
Yes.
Said me. Never.
Least favorite McCartney album. Ooh. Well, if you listen to or watch the two legs, you know I'm not going to say Off the Ground because I like that because I love that.
Off the Ground.
Thank you, Tom. You hear that? You hear that, Tom?
I love Off the Ground.
I hope you heard that, Tom. I really, really hope you heard that.
One of my, again, prized possessions is an original 1993 UK LP copy of Off the Ground.
Only pressed in the UK. It was not made here.
And I will not say how much I paid for it.
You want to hear how much I paid for it?
Sure.
$10.
What the fuck?
in 1995 in a New York City record store.
Okay, that makes a little more sense.
$10. It still has the sticker on it.
Oh man.
It still has the sticker on it.
I paid $100 for it.
Damn. That's crazy. Oh, okay, this is easy. Lee's favorite McCartney album, Driving Rain.
Okay, that's what I thought you were going to say.
Driving Rain.
And now, what is your favorite McCartney side project? You know, could be Thrillington, Fireman, all those stuff, Twin Freaks.
I'd have to say Electric Arguments. Electric Arguments probably, because it was almost like it was a Fireman album, but it was like a McCartney album. Mm-hmm. I like the Liverpool Sound College too. It was a little bit of a different thing, you know, because the mashup that he did with I think Youth on that as well. I think. Let me just look at it real quick. Who did he do this with again now? The Super Furry Animals. This wasn't with you. This was with the Super Furry. Yeah, so I like that, but definitely Electric Arguments. The orchestral stuff I'm not as big on with him. I like some of it.
Like the Liverpool Oratorio.
The Oratorio is probably the one I like the most because obviously the connections to Liverpool and how it was recorded and performed at the Anglican.
What's the one with like the Latin title?
Ecce Cor Meum from 2006. I think I said that right. If I didn't, tell me. You know, somebody out there who listens to this. Ocean's Kingdom. I don't even think I've listened to that more than maybe a few seconds of it. But Standing Stone.
I think we're actually talking about some albums where vinyl copies exist, but I'm so indifferent to some of these albums that I won't buy them. Like Ocean's Kingdom, Liverpool Oratorio.
No, agreed.
And it was even like Kisses on the Bottom. I was so indifferent to that I could have got one brand new, and now they're like very expensive.
Yeah, that one that was one of those ones you've got to snap up, and it's amazing. Like vinyl that was made in the 90s or even the early 2000s is ridiculous. Like Driving Rain, I think in 2001 when I bought it, it was like $30. You know,
I had a chance a couple years ago to buy a copy. I think it was even sealed of Flaming Pie for $150.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, that's kind of expensive. And now I go back, now that Flaming Pie has been reissued, thinking, do I want to get it or do I want to go for the original? And then I look at the original, it's like, oh, wow, they've even gotten more expensive.
An American pressing or one from the UK?
I'm not quite sure. I think
because I have both, and the American one, again, I'm
would you like
myself.
to donate one to your favorite Canadian?
I have several. We could arrange that. I think I paid. I think it was again.
Anything
that was like
you're looking for.
Yes, we can talk about that after the show.
Perfect.
I think I paid, and it's still sealed, $11.99 for a USA pressing of Flaming Pie. Yeah, and then the British copy was about $30 back then. So those are two. They're sitting nicely on my shelf over there. We'll talk. We'll make a deal.
One of those records that I was so close to getting, because I just like talking records with people.
Yes.
There's a 2001 reissue of All Things Must Pass.
Yes.
That I almost
in the box.
Yeah.
In the
color
box.
cover.
Yep.
I almost got that for $150 at the aforementioned antique market, but I thought
you can get better than that online.
Yeah. Well, here's something. Are you a Pink Floyd fan?
I am.
Do you own the Echoes box set?
I do not.
Well, there's a record store close to me that has about 2 or 3 new old stock copies for their original prices.
Really?
Yeah. They're still like $99.
That's pretty good.
I know.
That's pretty good.
That's where I got my original like 07 copy of Love sealed.
Wow.
They have like a stack of about 10 still sealed, original 2007.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow. I have it digitally because I have Apple Music, but I don't own it physically.
But it's kind of, a hole-in-the-wall store that not a lot of people know about.
What's your favorite Floyd album?
Favorite Floyd album? I'm gonna...
You're gonna say like Adam Hart Mother or something, right?
I'm not gonna say Adam Hart Mother. I'll say something even weirder. Saucer Full of Secrets.
I knew that was coming. I figured, he's gonna say that.
Yeah. It was gonna say... I could say Piper at the Gates of Dawn, which that is a very good album. Yeah. But I like Saucer Full of Secrets just slightly more. Because, Corporal Clegg. Let There Be More Light.
Nice.
What's your favorite Floyd album?
Metal.
Metal. Good choice.
Yes.
Seamus.
Metal. Yep. Yeah, love Metal. And then probably the Wall after that, which might be obvious, but,
yeah.
I like that
the
one.
obvious one for me is, I don't care how basic it is, Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, well, listen, that's like, and you've got the Wings connection on that album, too.
There's a reason why it's so beloved.
I just wish, and people discover that kind of music. Like, I remember this specifically in high school. Everybody was like, oh, I like Pink Floyd. I like Dark Side of the Moon. Like, well, there's other albums to listen to, Yeah.
And the good thing that with Pink Floyd is, I saw someone describe it as, start with metal. Start with metal. If you like these elements, go listen to these albums. If you like these elements, go listen to these ones. And it's kind of like a diagram.
It'll take you to two different directions depending on what you like.
So if you like the psychedelic elements of metal, go to Adam Hart Mother.
Right.
Go to Saucer Full of Secrets.
Right. If you like the poppier stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
But, yeah. Oh, I could so easily do a Pink Floyd podcast.
You certainly could.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Not necessarily out of the cards.
Go for it, man.
Yeah. Have people on to talk about Pink Floyd records.
Yeah, I've seen a couple tribute bands over the last few years, and they've been pretty spot on in recreating the experience.
You know what? I think I actually might do that. You're witnessing the birth of something new, everybody. I think I'm going to start a mini series where I talk about Pink Floyd. Bring someone on to talk about a Pink Floyd album.
Go for it.
And I'll have you on to talk about metal.
Okay.
There you go.
All good stuff, man.
Anyways,
yeah.
Now we're at my favorite part of the show. Andy, what would you like to plug?
Well, those of you that are listening or have watched, thank you for following Two Legs. If you're not aware of it.
If you're not aware of it, you're stupid.
If you're not aware of it, if you're in our little circle of Beatles podcast, you should be aware of it. If you're not, then shame on you. Two Legs is the podcast that I co-host with my partner Tom Hunyadi, and I've been on the team for about a year now. If you'd like to check us out, just Google search Two Legs and you'll find us. We post episodes weekly. We have had authors, people that have worked with McCartney, interviewed McCartney. Other podcasters. So check us out on there, on Podbean, YouTube, all the usual outlets, of which there are too many to list anymore, but we're out there, and the show is doing very well. We've hit over 200 subscribers on YouTube, which is an area that kind of we took off to do when I came on board, and Tom has been very happy with that, and me too. So check us out on YouTube and subscribe, and kind of get into the little chat with our people and friends on there as well. And that's about it, my friend. We're on Facebook and all the other social media, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. You can find us on there as well. And if that's where we're at for Two Legs.
I'm still getting the hand of plugging myself, saying all the right buzzwords and
There's a rhythm to it. There's a rhythm to it.
I haven't gotten in the rhythm yet.
It's okay. I'm not in it. But none of us are. We're learning as we go.
We're on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio.
Yeah,
we're now on Amazon Music.
Yep, got to add. That's like a little script you have to do.
It's basically anywhere good podcasts can be heard. Give us 5-star ratings if you liked the episode. Give us 4-star ratings if you didn't. Please give the 5-star ones, though.
Please.
Please feed my ego.
Please. Also, kudos I don't know if people have probably told you this, and if they haven't, shame on them. The way you design your artwork for your episodes is nothing short of amazing. It's probably the coolest thing I've seen in terms of podcast art ever.
Thank you.
Your
I
concept
have one done for you.
Your concept of pulling album artwork and changing it and superimposing people's faces onto it is pretty awesome, and I've never seen it anywhere. And it's kudos.
Thank you. I'll have to send what I have for you after the interview. It's good.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're listening to this on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that bell notification so you get notified every time a new episode goes up of Fans on the Run or whatever vanity project I put out next. You'll be the first to know. And we're on Facebook, Fans on the Run Podcast. We're on Instagram under the same name. You can email me at fansontheRunPodcast@gmail.com. And that's about it for my plug. There we go. How did I do?
You got it. You did it. You did it. See, you don't even listen. You're a veteran now, man.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it. You see, you follow Kit. You follow Tom. You got it down now. You're
I'm in
man.
good company.
You certainly are.
Remember, kids, it's not what you know.
It's who you know. Don't forget that.
Yeah. It's this delightful kind of Beatles nepotism.
Certainly is.
But anyways, Andy, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a blast.
No, it's been great, man. I'm happy that you reached out, and I was happy to share my Liverpool experiences with you and a little insight of some local stuff over there. And I'll send you some photos of my Beatledom stuff over the years, and you can check a look at those as well. So thank you, Ethan.
I'm in a great mood because I thought this was not going to go as well because I was rusty. I was not rusty. I didn't think I was. I am a god.
You're pro. Dude, sign this kid up. Let's go.
Yeah. To whatever Beatles podcasting network is coming out.
Well, it's coming, and you're on it, buddy. So welcome aboard.
Oops, did I leak something?
No.
Yeah. Open secrets.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh God, I'm gonna get an angry message from Ed Chen saying, "What the fuck, Ethan?"
Pissed that off.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh yeah. So anyways, thank you for coming on. To everyone else out there, thank you for listening. You can go home now.
Fans on the Run is produced by Ethan Alexanian. Additional voiceovers by Richard Phillip. This has been a Showtown production.